Hello, today we're going to be talking about an extension activity for this project. What you've done so far is you've used Google Sheets and you've used your knowledge of exponential equations in order to tally up what would happen if you saved $1,000 every year from your current age or my current age of 27 to your retirement age. And you can see here that Google Sheets does the work for you. And you can see that you end up, or in this case, I would end up with $114,000. This sort of view is nice because we can see what happened with our initial money, our $1,000 that we put in when we were 27, compounded for 38 years, and eventually became $6,385. That's awesome, right? And we can see it's very easy to see in this view what's happening with the money that we put in at a certain time. So the money that we put in at age 27, that $1,000 becomes $6,000. Whereas if I put in money closer to the retirement age, if I put in money when I'm 47, it only becomes $2,400. And if I put in money even farther along, if I put it in at age 60, it hardly gains any interest at all, comparatively. So what you can see here very clearly is that the earlier I save, the more money I have. That's good. Now, what we're going to look at is another way of using Google Sheets to calculate out the total retirement that allows us to change the interest rate every year, which is a little bit more useful and a little bit more accurate. So let's do that. Start off the same. You can see here I have a slightly revised table, but I have my current age, 27, and I'm going to put in $1,000 at the beginning of the year. $1,000 at the beginning of the year, January 1st. My interest rate, 1.05, 5%, and the amount of money that I have at the end is equal to, I'm putting a formula, equals $1,000, my initial value, times the interest rate, raised to the number of years. So this is 1 year, so I'm going to put in 1 here, from the beginning of the year, January 1st, to the end of the year, December 31st. I'm raising it to the first power because it's 1 year. And I can see here I started off with 1,000. At the end of the year, I've gained 5%. Cool. Let's continue along. 28. The next year, I also invest $1,000, but I invest that $1,000 on top of the money that I currently had. So the 1,000 new dollars plus the amount of money that I had at the end. So I start off year 2. On January 1st, I had my 1,050. I inputted in another 1,000. So I have 2,050. Now I have my interest rate, 1.05. And again, I have that same calculation. Equals the amount of money at the beginning times my interest rate, raised to the first power because it's compounding for 1 year, from January 1st to December 31st. January 1st comes again. I'm 29 now. I put in another $1,000 plus the amount of money that I had at the end of the year. You can start to hopefully see a pattern here. Now I have 1.05 to represent my 5% interest. And again, that same equation equals my initial amount at the beginning of the year times the interest rate raised to the first power to represent 1 year. Cool. Hopefully, we realize by now that the point of using Google Sheets is that it can do all these calculations for us really quickly. So you'll notice I'm repeating myself. I don't want to keep on typing this out by hand. I want Google Sheets to do the work for me. So I can highlight these cells. It recognizes the pattern. It's going up by 1. I can click and drag the box until 65. So let's click and drag. That's 54. I need to drag a little bit more. 59, 65. Cool. So I dragged it all the way to 65. And now I can do the same thing with these values. Notice what I'm going to do. Be careful here. This is a formula. This is equal to 1,000 plus the previous cell. If I copy that, if I drag that down, notice what's happening in this new formula over here. It's 1,000 plus the previous one. which is exactly what I want. This 1.05 continues along. It's always going to be 1.05. And this formula is set up the same way. B7 times C7 raised to the first. This next one I want to be B8 times C8 raised to the first. If I drag this down, it's going to apply that new formula. I can double check that, and I can see that it's doing the right thing. Awesome. So what we can see here is that at year 27, I invested $1,000. It became $1,050. At year 28, I invested $1,000 on top of that. And now in total, I have $2,100 after year 28, or after year 2, when I'm 28 years old. When I'm 29 years old, I put in an additional $1,000. And now at the end of that third year, I have $3,300. So this allows me to see the amount that I have at the end of each year. And if I highlight all of these, I can do it all at once and drag it down. It's going to repeat those formulas all the way until year 65. And I can see what's going to happen. At the end of year 45, I'll have $32,000. At the end of year 53, I'll have $57,000. The beauty is that this should match. So notice my number over here from earlier was 114,095. My number over here at the beginning of year 65 is also that, 114,095. So the numbers do match, which makes sense because they should match, right? It's the same exponential equation, just a different way of looking at it. But the beauty of doing it this way is I can see the amount of money that I have, that I've gotten at the end of each year. If I want to clean this up a little bit, this is a lot of decimals, I can use this button over here, decrease decimal places. I can click it, and now it'll only go to the cents. I can copy and paste that for everything. I can highlight all the cells. I only want to go to, I only want to go to 2 decimal places. So I can decrease or increase the decimal places as necessary. And I can see the amount of money that I have at the end of each year. So that is really nice. And the reason why it's so nice also, so pause here, pause the video, make sure that you can complete the assignment so far. And now once you've unpaused, take a look at what we can do. I encourage you to fill this out, with your own information. But now look at what we can do. We can change the interest rate. Say that I made 5% the first year, but then 4% the next year. I can change that, and all my values here are going to change. What if I made on this year when I'm 43? What if the stock market went down? What if it went down? It was less than 1. I lost money. You can see that I change it. It automatically reflects here. So this is nice. I can actually update all these values and check how that affects everything. So I can update them. I can update every single one. And you can play around with this and see how changing the interest rate each year, which is how it works. Right here, I have the Dow Jones, which is kind of the stock market. You can see that it fluctuates year by year. You can see it might go up by 25%. It might go down by 5%. You can actually put in these same values. I'm doing this. Here's like a really big extension, but a cool one. Look at what's happening in this graph, right? It's going, it's going up and down and up and down. And I have all the values from, like 100 years. I'm investing from 27 to 65, which is a 38-year period here. What if I actually were to look at what's happened over the past 38 years? So that would be starting in 1983. And I put in these values. I put in 1.2 to represent the 20% increase. And then I put in, this is decreased. So this is 1 minus 3.7. That's 0.963. 0.963. And I can put in the corresponding values and see how my money would grow or shrink over time. This is 1.276. And again, you can play around with this, see how your money would have grown over this period if you had invested in the stock market the whole time. Note, in terms of financial advice, I'm not giving any financial advice, but it's important to look at the graph. Depending on where you are, if you started here at 2,000 and now it's at 30,000, you've made tons of money. If you started at 5,000 and then went down to 2,000, then you've lost money. So it depends where you take your money out and where you put your money in. But this is the extension project. I hope you guys like it. I hope that you're enjoying this project. It allows you to see what's happening in real time. So again, you can find this information over here, macrotrends.net/1319/Dow Jones, etc. You can also look at it online. Just look up stock market over time. Bye-bye.